Invincible Season 4 is almost over, with Episode 7 being the highest rated episode of the entire series. It made the Battle of Viltrum so much better, and they made a major change in the timeline. So let's break down everything that's different from the comics. Episode 7, Don't Do Anything Rash. The title comes from something Cecil said to Mark in issue 87. Once again taking a line from an issue that wasn't adapted in the episode, the flashback. The episode starts off similarly to episode 2, with the flashback to early Viltrum, but this time it's focused on the assassination of Emperor Argal, and the purge that followed because of Thrag. This flashback is where they actually made a big change to the timeline. We can see young Nolan here. Also, we see the same kids he was teaching right before the Scourge virus hit. So we know the time between the purge and the Scourge virus is much shorter in the show. In the comics, the virus wasn't created for nearly 1,000 years after, and in the show, the purge couldn't have lasted more than a few years, but Thrag said it lasted for hundreds of years in the books. And I would say it makes more sense that it was shorter, because after hundreds of years of that, you would expect them to be extinct already. We see more of Emperor Argal than we ever see in the comics. He only shows up one time in the panel where he dies. But we didn't see that animated because it happens off screen. Then we see all the heroes getting ready for war, recreating this iconic comic panel. The Battle of Viltrum. Starting with how the Viltrumites initially attacked. In the show, they were all hiding in the ring, with Thrag out in the open, waiting for the coalition to show up, so they managed to surround them. In the comics, the only one hiding in the ring is Thula, because they weren't really expecting them to show up to their planet. She alerts the others, and Thrag leads all the Viltrumites into battle. Theodos gets stabbed in the back by Thula the same way, but in the show, he fights back until Battle Beast takes over. But in the comic, he didn't fight back at all. Instead, Battle Beast instantly took her out of the fight. He gets taken out of the fight in the same way, although we get to see Thrag destroy his jetpack, which explains why he never came back, since he can't fly. Thrag was just standing there watching the fight at the start. But in the comics, the first person he attacks is Space Racer, until Mark decides to attack Thrag. Mark didn't know who Thrag was. For some reason, Theodos never explained who he was. I like how in the show, everyone on the ship was stressing out about Thrag. Oliver is even told not to attack him alone.
That also means you don't try to take him on alone, Oliver.
I won't.
And you best believe he did not listen. And he got the same treatment as in the comic. Mark is the next to try to fight Thrag alone. In the comics, he actually managed to make him bleed when he attacked him here. Although Thrag does the same head block later on after his planet was destroyed. The destruction of Viltrum. After Nolan gets sent flying, he decides to gather Mark and Theodos to fly through Viltrum. In the comics, it was Theodos who had the idea, and we didn't see them inside of the planet at any point. The planet blowing up was done so well. We also saw Argal's skull on the planet as it blew up, so I'm guessing it's destroyed, which didn't happen in the comics. Theodos never got a chance to have a direct talk with Thrag afterwards, like he did in the comics. And Thrag says, "There's nothing left but revenge." But in the show, Theodos tells the Viltrumites to surrender, and Thrag says, "I choose death." Notice how Alan is switched with Mark, having the 3 remaining Viltrumites face off against Thrag. The first person Thrag attacks next is Nolan, but he actually decided on Mark in the comics. That's where he almost squished his head with his fists, which Mark didn't have to experience in the show. One thing I really liked about the comics at this part is Nolan telling Mark he loves him and trying to sacrifice himself. That's when we get this chase scene between Mark and Thrag. The comic version had Mark covered in blood with red eyes because he had been way more beaten up at this point. When Nolan comes in to save him, he instantly gets impaled, whereas in the show, he actually got a hit off on Thrag, and then he got impaled. They really did Thrag good this episode, so I'm going to list some things we didn't see Thrag do in the comics. First, he never had that talk with Nolan on the surface. They actually never go to the surface of Viltrum other than when they destroy it. He also never gives Nolan the chance to return to their side and be forgiven. He never pulled this insane uppercut on Nolan that sent him flying into space. He never ripped this giant rock apart, and finally, he never had 2 left hands, which was a pretty interesting power to reveal out of nowhere. He's just built differently like that. Now I'll list some things he did in the comics but not in the show. First of all, he led his team into battle and immediately fought alongside them instead of just watching. And he actually talks to and commands his soldiers. In the show, he really didn't say anything to them until the end. He makes a little joke to Oliver right before ripping his arm off instead of saying,
"You are not one of us."
And finally, he says he came into power as Grand Regent after the dark times of the Purge. But in the flashback, we see he was already the Regent while Argal was alive.
Regent Thrag.
I think it's kind of lame that he didn't really participate in the Purge, but he didn't really need to prove himself either. Even Conquest was scared of him. The end of the battle. When Thrag decided to spare Mark and Nolan, Krieg was angry enough to disobey Thrag and try to finish them off himself, but he was quickly stopped by Thrag. The episode ends the same way as in issue 76, with Mark realizing the Viltrumites have gone to Earth. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and check out my other videos covering the rest of the episodes. Thanks for watching.